discuss about approach to pediatric stroke. So as you know, stroke is a common happening and you have seen many times in adults. Likewise, it is also seen in pediatric population. बच्चों में भी हमने देखा है कि बच्चे स्ट्रोक के साथ जो है हमारे पास अक्सर आते हैं. Sometimes they come to OPD and sometimes they come in emergency room, ER. Okay, so first of all, we should know what is stroke. Stroke is defined as the sudden onset of focal neurological deficit due to occlusion of blood supply or hemorrhage in the brain, causing symptoms and signs lasting greater than 24 hours. So you see in the definition, there are two important things to be stressed upon is that there is also a focal neurological deficit and it should be lasting more than 24 hours. Okay. The incidence of the stroke in pediatric population in children is 2.5 to 13 per 100,000 children per year. And it is not very common as we see in older age group, but it is there. And it is one of the top 10 causes of death in childhood. And it is as common in children as the brain tumors are common. And nearly half of pediatric strokes are hemorrhagic. And hemorrhage can be either spontaneous intraparenchymal or, for example, non-traumatic subarachnoid hemorrhage. Okay, and the remainder are ischemic. So we can say that there are two main types of the stroke: ischemic and hemorrhagic, and we can say they are 50-50%. So neonatal strokes, we also see neonatal strokes in newborns, neonates, and you know we define the neonate as from birth till 28 days of age. So neonatal stroke incidence is much more higher than infantile strokes. It is 28 by 100,000 live birth. Okay. The risk groups. Sorry, risk groups. There are certain risk groups in which the risk of stroke is higher, and in which the newborns, the neonates, newborns, especially with history of hypoxic injury. Then older children with sickle cell anemia, congenital heart defects, immune disorders, or problems with blood clotting. Then we can have stroke in those children who are previously healthy, who are found to have hidden disorders, such as narrow blood vessels or a tendency to form blood clots easily. So they may first time present with stroke, and then when their workup is done, they are investigated, then we find that there is some problem in the blood vessel itself, or they have some problem with blood clotting mechanisms. Okay. So the causes can be the cardiac causes, for example, congenital causes, like it's more common in aortic stenosis, mitral stenosis, VSD, PDA, cyanotic congenital heart diseases involving right to left shunt. Then we can also have strokes in acquired cardiac causes, for example, in endocarditis, the septic emboli may lodge into the brain, cardiomyopathy, especially the dilated cardiomyopathy, again forming emboli which may dislodge, then arrhythmias, then rheumatic fever, and psoriatic heart diseases. Then we can have hematological problems like disorders of the RBCs, for example, sickle cell anemia and polycythemia. The disorders of the WBCs like leukemia, lymphoma. Then disorders of the platelets like thrombocytosis or thrombocytopenia. Remember, when the blood viscosity is increased, whether due to decrease in the plasma or due to increase in the cell count, WBCs, RBCs or platelets, so we can have thrombotic events, okay, resulting in strokes. Okay. Then hematological abnormalities are maybe there, which are due to problems in the clotting mechanisms like protein C deficiency, protein S. Sorry, it's a protein S deficiency, protein C deficiency, factor 5 deficiency, antithrombin 3 deficiency. Then we can have these in paroxysmal nocturnal hemoglobinuria, IBD, lupus anticoagulants, etc. So there is a long list. Okay. Then vascular diseases like moya disease, arteriovenous malformations, AVMs, aneurysms, Sturge-Weber syndrome, fibromuscular dysplasias. Then we can have inflammatory disorders responsible for causing stroke in children. For example, the most common is the infective diseases, meningitis, viral, bacterial, tuberculosis. Especially we have seen these problems in tuberculous meningitis. Then we can have it in HIV encephalopathy, then local head and neck infections. The other bulk is of autoimmune diseases like SLE, Takayasu arthritis, resulting in vasculitis of various types, polyarthritis nodosa, sarcoidosis, mixed connective tissue disorders. That can be drug induced, although it's less common in children, for example, amphetamines and cocaine. Then we can have strokes due to metabolic disorders like homocystinuria, pseudoxanthoma elasticum, Fabry's disease, mitochondrial encephalopathies, in which you can have Millar syndrome and Leigh syndrome. There are miscellaneous causes. Miscellaneous causes again trauma resulting in bleeding, bleeding or crushing injuries, vessels. If the vessels are destroyed, can also result in infarct. But most of the time, trauma results into hemorrhagic bleeding. Then child abuses, then placental embolism, ECMO extracorporeal membrane oxygenation होती है, then post varicella. So let's have a view of the circle of Willis. You see it's located at the base of the brain, the circle of Willis, which supplies all the parts of the brain. First of all, there is a main basilar artery, which are formed by two vertebral arteries. They unite to form main basilar arteries, and there are many branches, okay, which are being produced. Then it's again divided into two branches, and near the head, basically it is completed by internal carotid artery. Okay, then there are basically three main arteries: posterior cerebral, middle cerebral, and anterior cerebral arteries. So problem can occur anywhere, and the manifestation would be due to the will be seen in the territory of the distribution of that vessel. Okay. So pathophysiology of brain ischemia. Primary injury is the one in which there is cellular damage caused directly by the insult, and the secondary injury. Secondary injury is due to various derailments set into motion by the primary injury. Remember, first time I want to give you the concept of primary injury and the secondary injury. Primary injury is the initial insult, which may be an infection, inflammation, or any vascular abnormality, or any other problem. Okay? But uh, what our goal is to prevent secondary injury. Okay? The secondary injury is more problematic, and it can result into spread of the primary injury, or I mean, it can cause worsening of the primary problem. So, in order to prevent the secondary injury, we use neuroprotective measures. Neuroprotective measures we adopt in children to prevent the spread of the primary injury and to prevent the deterioration. Okay, so there are 10 neuroprotective regions. Okay, fine. So we have discussed the circle of Willis. What's going on? Thrombosis. So let's first discuss the ischemia thrombosis. The thrombosis can occlude any vessel. For example, can occlude anterior, middle, posterior, basilar, vertebral, internal carotid arteries. And arterial thrombosis are more common at atheromatous plaques or stenosis of the arteries. And what happens is thrombi embolize to distal region. Thrombi will travel in the vessel and जहाँ पे भी इसको ज़्यादा नर्विंग मिलेगी, you know कि vessel जो है it at the beginning the vessel is broader and till its destination the its caliber continues to narrow down. ठीक है ना, फाइनली कैपिलरीज हो जाती हैं तो थ्रोम्बाइस में ट्रेवल करेगा, इट विल एम्बोलाइज टू डिस्टल रीजन and causing intracranial ischemia and infarction. जहाँ जाके फाइनली लॉज हो जाएगा वहाँ पे जाहिर सी बात है आगे तो फ्लो ही नहीं होगा ना, तो इट विल कॉज ischemia and infarction. Okay. So you know intracranial embolism. Emboli arise mainly from atheromatous plaques within great vessels, or they can arise from heart. Okay, so pieces of plaque can break free, travel to the brain and block blood vessels that supply blood to the brain. अब आप ये देख लीजिए कि इंटरनल कैरोटिड आर्टरी में ये सपोज यू सी दिस इज द कट सेक्शन ऑफ द इंटरनल कैरोटिड आर्टरी. ओके, सो ये इसके अंदर प्लैक यू सी कितना ल्यूमन इसका नैरो हो गया है और यहाँ से इसमें पीसेस ब्रेक होके एम्बुलाइज से जा रहे हैं. प्लैक इज लार्जर, इट इज समवेयर इन द वेसल और इसमें से छोटे छोटे पीसेस निकल के जो है रिलीज हो रहे हैं एम्बुलाइज एंड दे ट्रेवल फॉरवर्ड. ठीक है, और इनकी डेस्टिनेशन कहाँ होगी, इट विल डिपेंड कि वो कहाँ तक ट्रेवल कर सकते हैं. ठीक है ना, जब वो इतने नैरो मतलब they leave the place where they can't move further due to the due to problem diameter problem. जब वो इतने इक्वल हो जाए कि वैसे का डायमीटर है तो ऑब्वियसली दे विल बी स्टॉप देयर. तो वहीं पर फिर जो है इनका ये फाइनल डेस्टिनेशन होगा एंड दे विल स्टॉप द ब्लड सप्लाई देयर. सो यू कैन सी what we discussed the circle of Willis इस तरह से होता है ना, ये common carotid artery है, it's giving external carotid, internal carotid jacket at the base of the skull, they are completing the circle of Willis. So if the flag is there it can release the emboli, they can go anywhere. ठीक है. So this is the pathophysiology of the infarct. Now we come to the pathophysiology of the hemorrhage. Remember first thing that the strokes due to ischemia are most, they have clear cut boundaries. Okay, but if the stroke is due to hemorrhage then sometimes uh, bleeding doesn't follow the boundaries. Bleeding can occur anywhere, can spread if there is massive bleeding. Then again, so if you got clear cut findings, clinical findings, then most probably it is due to uh, ischemic strokes. Okay, because it will be due to some specific vessel which is involved in this ischemia. But if there is hemorrhage, intraparenchymal hemorrhage or aneurysm, rupture of the aneurysm or subperitoneal, then the clinical findings may be different. Means that there it will be some sort of difficult to clearly define anatomical boundaries of okay what is the source and what is the exact location. Okay, so in that case we will be needing the help of imaging studies. So pathophysiology of the hemorrhage, 20% of strokes are due to intracranial hemorrhage from rupture of intracranial aneurysms. Then Charcot-Richard aneurysm occur when hemorrhage is common. Where hemorrhage is common, can be in the basal ganglia, thalamus, cerebellum, pons, and subcortical areas. So So the types of stroke syndromes which you can discuss in pediatric population are arterial ischemic strokes, cerebral sinovenous thrombosis, okay, intracranial hemorrhage, okay. So thrombosis or narrowing can occur in the arteries or in the veins, okay, and hemorrhage is another variety. Signs and symptoms, okay. Remember always the signs and symptoms in pediatric population depend upon the age of presentation. The children and younger children who cannot verbalize, who cannot complain their problems. In those cases, we have to guess okay, what is the problem. We have to do a complete thorough examination and to find out okay, what is the problem. But older children, they can explain their problems verbally or by their gestures or any other means. But in newborns and infants, simply there will be some non-specific findings like seizures may be there, and seizures, mostly the focal seizures involving a particular part. Then extreme sleepiness, that is the GCS, the level of consciousness will be altered and extreme sleepiness. And then another very important finding is a tendency to use only one side of their body, the side of the body which is normal. Okay, so they will be using that part more frequently. Okay, this is a very important clue, the tendency to use only one side of their body. In children and teenagers, weakness or numbness of the face, arm or leg. Usually on one side of the body, weakness हो सकती है, face भी involve हो सकता है, arm भी हो सकता है, leg. Usually on the one side of the body, hemiparesis. Then trouble walking due to weakness or trouble moving, one side of the body, or due to loss of coordination. Then problems speaking or understanding language, including slurred speech, trouble trying to speak, inability to speak at all, or difficulty in understanding simple directions. Okay. Okay. Then severe headache, especially with vomiting and sleepiness. Trouble seeing clearly in one or both eyes, severe dizziness or loss of coordination that may lead to losing balance or falling down. Then new appearance of seizures, especially if affecting one side of the body and followed by paralysis on the side of the seizure activity. Then combination of progressively worsening non-stop headache, drowsiness and repetitive vomiting lasting days without relief. Complain of sudden onset of the worst headache of my life. These are few complaints which can be called as a red flag signs. If anyone is there, you should become alert. Okay, and you should have a high index of suspicion that it may be the presentation of a stroke. Now, this is very important step, localization of lesion. Okay, where is the lesion? Okay, localization of lesion. Where is the lesion in case of hemiplegia? Lesion can be divided into two groups on the basis of cranial nerve palsy. As remember, there is weakness of one side of the body, and if there is a weakness of the cranial nerves also, that localization of the lesion becomes very easy. Because the cranial nerve palsy on the same side as that of hemiplegia, or cranial nerve palsy on opposite side as that of hemiplegia. ठीक है, तो ये दो हम बेसिकली दो टाइप्स हम बना लेते हैं और इससे लोकलाइजेशन becomes easier. Cranial nerve palsy on the same side as that of hemiplegia means lesion is above the level of the brainstem, that is ipsilateral hemiplegia. ठीक है, same side पे, यानी for example if there is right sided weakness and right sided cranial nerve involvement, ठीक है ना, तो lesion can be at the same level of either cortex or internal capsule or subcortical lesion. ठीक है, then cortical lesion के अंदर क्या होता है, कॉर्टिकल लीजन के अंदर हेमिपेरेसिस हो सकता है, मोनोपेरेसिस हो सकता है। कॉर्टिकल लीजन के अंदर डिफरेंशियल इन्वॉल्वमेंट हो सकती है कि कौन सा पार्ट ज्यादा इन्वॉल्व है, अपर लिम्ब ज्यादा इन्वॉल्व है या लोअर लिम्ब ज्यादा इन्वॉल्व है। ठीक है, it depends के it will give you the territory of the artery के anterior cerebral artery ज़्यादा involved है या middle cerebral artery ज़्यादा involved है। ठीक है, altered sensorium होगा when there is cortical lesion, there will be conversions, there will be cortical sensory loss, there will be a stereognosis। ठीक है ना, जो आप I mean जो ये टेक्सचर वगैरह आइडेंटिफाई करना होता है that will be lost and aphasia will be there if the dominant cortex is involved। ठीक है, so there are few features of the cortical lesions. Then frontal lobe involvement may there will be altered behavior and upper limb will be involved more as compared to lower limb. Okay? And there will be motor aphasia. And there will be conversions, there will be bladder and bowel involvement, and there will be persistent neonatal reflexes on the opposite side. So these are the features of the frontal lobe involvement. Okay? So upper limb involvement would be more as compared to lower limb. The parietal lobe involvement में cortical sensory loss होता है। ठीक है ना, आपका जो है cortical sensory loss होगा and there will be a stereognosis. Okay. And temporal lobe involvement में there might be temporal lobe epilepsy, okay, there and sensory aphasia and memory loss. Occipital lobe involvement में hommonymous hemianopia. ठीक है, occipital lobe involvement. Then internal capsule lesion, dense hemiplegia. Internal capsule is a place where all the fibers are crowded together. So there will be dense hemiplegia, hemianesthesia, hommonymous hemianopia, and dysarthria. The subcortical lesions. Subcortical lesions are similar to the cortical lesion except loss of cortical sensation and conversions. ठीक है, इसके अंदर cortical sensation intact होगी, conversions भी नहीं होंगे इसमें। ठीक है, then cranial nerve palsy on opposite side as that of hemiplegia. For example, if the weakness is on the right side of the body and the cranial nerve palsy is found on the left side of the body, it means that the lesion is at or above the level of the brainstem. That is contralateral hemiplegia. And lesion can be either of midbrain, pons, medulla, or spinal cord between C1 and C4. So midbrain lesions you should know few syndromes. That is Weber syndrome when there is third cranial nerve palsy and contralateral hemiplegia. Okay. And Benedict syndrome when there is third cranial nerve palsy plus contralateral hemiplegia plus red nucleus affection. That is tremor, rigidity, and ataxia on opposite side. Pons के अंदर lesions जो होते हैं, for example, Meillard-Gabler syndrome, that is seventh cranial nerve palsy plus contralateral hemiplegia. Then Fowey syndrome, sixth and seventh cranial nerve palsy plus contralateral hemiplegia. Medullary lesions, Jackson syndrome, that is 12th cranial nerve palsy plus contralateral hemiplegia. Remember that brain stem means midbrain, pons, medulla. Okay, so problem can be anywhere. If you see lesion in the brain stem, which includes midbrain, pons, and medulla, so depending upon the cranial nerve involvement, you can localize. Okay, and you must remember which cranial nerves जो है nucleus lie in the midbrain, which in the pons, and which in the medulla. दैट स्पाइनल कॉर्ड लीजन होता है, स्पाइनल कॉर्ड लीजन में ब्राउन सीक्वेट सिंड्रोम क्या होता है, हेमिप्लेजिया प्लस cranial nerve palsy plus differential sensory loss, that is loss of vibration and joint syncs on the same side and pain, touch and temperature on the opposite side. This is because of the crossing of the long threads. ठीक है, जो आ रहा होता है आपका कॉर्टिको स्पाइनल ट्रैक्ट्स आ रहे होते हैं और ये पोस्टीरियर कॉलम जा रहा होता है लेटरल कॉलम, ये बिकॉज ऑफ दिस, क्योंकि इसके अंदर क्रॉसिंग ऑफ द फाइबर्स हो रही होती है, इसलिए आपको डिफरेंशियल सेंसरी लॉस मिलता है. So the differential diagnosis would be focal cerebral ischemia, intracranial hemorrhage, cerebral abscess, encephalitis, for example, herpes simplex virus, brain tumor, alternating hemiplegia of infancy, multiple sclerosis, malingering conversion disorder. Remember ये malingering और conversion disorder जो होता है ना, इसके अंदर जो फाइंडिंग्स मिलेंगी वो किसी भी आर्टीरियल टेरिटरी में फिट नहीं हो रही होंगी. Anatomically, you would be unable to define, you would be unable to localize the lesions. ठीक है, and epilepsy के अंदर भी हो सकता है post ictal torts paralysis और a focal inhibitory seizure. Post ictal torts paralysis is for few hours. ठीक है, then sometimes in complicated migraine also we can have problems of weakness. तो द कॉम्प्लिकेशंस ऑफ द स्ट्रोक, कॉम्प्लिकेशन ऑफ द स्ट्रोक जो है हमारे पास जो मिलती है, सबसे तो कॉमन ये मिलती है कि वीकनेस ही होती है उस जगह पे, फोकल न्यूरोलॉजिकल डेफिसिट होता है, वीकनेस होती है, देन समटाइम द सीजर्स स्टार्ट डेवलपिंग, देन रेज्ड इंट्राक्रैनियल प्रेशर, hypertension, aphasia and skeletal deformities. Because the part which is not used, then there will be disuse, atrophy of the muscles, and bone के अंदर demineralization start हो जाती है, so we can have skeletal deformities also. So diagnostic evaluation, first line, there are certain first line investigations which should be performed within first 48 hours of the admission. The second line, which should be performed within first week, and third line, which should be performed as per need. Okay. First line के अंदर you must be doing CBC, ESR, blood sugar, blood urea nitrogen, serum electrolytes, especially these 5: sodium, potassium, calcium, magnesium, and phosphorus. Then liver functions, AST, ALT. Then lipid profile, brain X-ray chest, CT brain, MRI brain, MR angiography, ultrasonography, and ENA for vasculitis, and ECG, cardiac problems. So these are the first line. These are the minimum which should be done in each case. Okay. So there are a few pictures in which you can see MRI, T1 and T2 weighted magnetic resonance demonstrating left infarct in the middle cerebral artery territory. So this is a CT, large vessel arterial infarct in the right middle cerebral artery territory. This is large infarct, okay. Hypodense area, dark area, hypodense area, और उसकी वजह से सराउंडिंग एडिमा भी है, जिसकी वजह से लेटरल वेंट्रिकल यहाँ पे आपको नजर नहीं आ रहा है. ठीक है, ऑन द राइट साइड, यहाँ पे आपको लेटरल वेंट्रिकल लेफ्ट साइड पे नजर आ रहा है. Whenever there is an infarct, ठीक है, there is some surrounding edema वहाँ पे होता है इसकी वजह से. तो the second line we will be doing echocardiogram, transthoracic with saline contrast, transcranial and carotid Doppler, magnetic resonance angiogram, EEG, RA factor, serum amino acids, urine for organic acids, blood culture, hemoglobin electrophoresis, complement profile, VDRL, lactate, pyruvate, ammonia, And in the CSF, we'll be doing cell count, protein, glucose, lactate, and lipid profile. Remember that the first line investigations are to be done in each and every case of the stroke. Second line would be done in uh, yes, these should also be done, but not all the investigations are worth doing in each case. On examination, on history, and on the evidence which is gathered from history and examination, you can make a list of proper investigations. Now the hypercoagulable evaluation, that is hematology consultation, इसके अंदर remember that we don't do it right away. After some time we do it. ठीक है, इनिशियली हम फॉरन नहीं करते हैं जब ये बच्चा आ जाता है, जब वो बच्चा स्टेबल हो जाएगा इसके बाद हम वर्कअप करेंगे, बिकॉज इफ यू डू इट initially the result would be false. So we wait till 6 weeks or 3 months and then we perform like antithrombin 3, protein C, NS, factor 5 latent mutation, antiphospholipid antibody, anticardiolipid, mucus antibody. Anticardiolipid, antiphospholipid antibody or anticardiolipid, these can be done, and lupus antibody. But if we suspect protein C, S, antithrombin 3, and factor 5 mutation, then we have to wait for a few weeks. Okay. Then in third line, again, third line investigations are those which are done in selected cases, not in all the cases. So in third line, we do the work of HIV status, Lyme titers, mycoplasma titers, Kajskrek titers, cardiac MRI, echocardiogram, transesophageal, muscle biopsy, DNA testing for MELAS, cerebral angiogram, leptomeningeal biopsy, serum homocysteine after methionine. Okay, so these are the investigations and to make a diagnosis. Once you define the stroke is ischemic or hemorrhagic, the treatment would be entirely different. For example, if there is a massive hemorrhage, then it has to be taken out. Then we'll be needing, in cases of massive hemorrhage, especially intraparenchymal, we would be needing the help of न्यूरोसर्जन. ठीक है, क्योंकि मैसिव हेमरेज है तो उसकी वजह से क्या होगा, प्रेशर इफेक्ट भी आ रहा होगा, हाइड्रोकैफ भी डेवलप हो सकता है, प्रेशर इफेक्ट आ रहा होगा, एंड इट हैज टू बी ड्रेन्ड आउट. ठीक है. And in cases of ischemia, sometimes in cases of ischemia, we have to do something to relieve that ischemia obstruction or to start the supply again, to normalize the blood flow again. उसके लिए हमें measures करनी होती है. So one of the approaches which is commonly practiced is if a child comes with weakness, the first thing is to decide whether it is a hemorrhagic stroke or a ischemic stroke. And for this, we can order, in resource limited areas, we can order plain CT scan. The plain CT scan would clearly show up the hemorrhage. Okay, and if there is no hemorrhage in the plain CT scan, we'll be confident that this is a non-hemorrhagic stroke, and it is the okay. So can you? I think you can hear me. Okay. In ischemic strokes, while doing workup, sometimes we can't do immediate workup. For example, we are suspecting protein C, NS, and other problems. We have to wait for some time, and if there is a ischemic stroke, we can start.
Excuse me, डॉक्टर साहब, आपके स्क्रीन शेयर नहीं है
जी.
शेयर स्क्रीन नहीं आ रही, स्क्रीन शेयर नहीं है.
स्क्रीन शेयर नहीं हो रही है.
जी
क्या हो गया?
मैं आपको जब भी कॉल कर रहा हूँ.
जी.
आप शेयर स्क्रीन करें। आपकी प्रेजेंटेशन का है डेस्कटॉप पे?
जी जी।
और
कहाँ
शेयर
पे
स्क्रीन
इसका?
करें, वहां पर दो छोटे बॉक्स आएंगे, उसको चेक लगा के शेयर हो जाएगी पूरा डेस्कटॉप, फिर इसको ऑन कर लें स्क्रीन।
ठीक है, हुई? हो गई?
नहीं अभी नहीं, अब नहीं, अभी नहीं हुई।
अच्छा मैं बुला, 1 मिनट वेट करें, मैं किसी को बुला रही हूँ, जस्ट